Hello? Perfect. Hello and welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. So, I see a few people still filing in and settling down. So, while people do that, I want to welcome you all who are not only here at Jenny Jump State Park in Hope, New Jersey, but also joining us live online because we do live stream this to YouTube and Twitch. So, if you have any questions that you forgot to ask or think of later, you can always go back onto our YouTube channel where we keep all our past presentations and comment those questions. I do periodically check for them and we'll get them answered. Also, check us out on our website, uacnj.org. That's where you're going to find a list of our upcoming talks, different information about our member clubs, as well as what telescopes and special events we have going on. You can also check us out on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. I hear the other one might be imploding, but we also have a Discord, which is also an excellent place to ask questions or even just share your astronomy photos. Now, for those of you who have joined us here, the inescapable safety briefing. So, if you need to use the restroom, it is the porta potty in the back to my left, your right. It's bright blue and has a red light on it. Through the lit up door in red to my left, there's a little museum and gift shop area that feel free to check out. I will be there after the talk, so if you need anything, unfortunately, still yet again, do not have the technology to be in two places at once. When we go to leave, chances are it might be a little dark because we're still dealing with smoke from the wildfires and it's been hazy all day, I know. Do use your headlights. We do not like getting run over. I am sure you also feel the same way. Let's avoid that. If we are walking around with flashlights or if you happen to have lasers, pointers, or anything, keep them pointed to the ground or appropriately space pointed towards whatever object you're trying to describe. Now, with all that in mind, our talk tonight is our first Saturday of the month talk with Lonny Buinis. It's What's Up in the July Sky. Lonny has been presenting the What's Up series at UACNJ since it opened. He's been an amateur astronomer since age 10 and still has his first telescope. He holds 2 degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in Physics and Computer Science, but thinks practical experience doing space art, space animation, and virtual reality objects is just as important. Lonny has written and will shamelessly self-promote later his first interactive astronomical history book, Space History Mysteries Solved, which contains 2 movies narrated by Jan, his wife, which the smartest thing he ever did was to marry his narrator because she keeps his feet on the ground while his head is high in the clouds. And with that, here's Lonny.
Oh, thank you very much, Kim. Oh, thanks. Thank you. It's great to be here. These presentations would not be possible without the behind-the-scenes help and in front-of-the-scenes help from Kim and Chris and many other amateur astronomers here. And the amateur astronomers love when you ask them questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. That's why we're here, to answer all the questions. And if we don't know the answer, we'll just make it up. So we're here to find out what's up in the July sky. We're going to do this every month. So you can guess that next month it'll be what's up in the... Very good. Audience participation is not punished. August sky, thank you. But in July, we're going to find things like these, M92, M13, and M, which you can't see. And these are named for Messier, the guy who was looking for comets, but these things got in the way. They're named by scientists with a very complex system that you and I together can figure out tonight. They're globes of stars, a group of stars, a cluster of stars in the shape of a globe. So the scientists came up, the astronomers, with the very complicated, hard to remember name, globular cluster. So you see how this works? We'll figure out how stuff is named as we go along. Globular clusters are what you're going to see in July if you look straight up through the thinnest part of the Earth's atmosphere, the clearest place to look. And if you have a refracting telescope with a lens in the top and an eyepiece in the bottom, it's the worst time to see stuff that's straight up because you got to look down there. But we've got accommodations for that. Don't forget to visit the observatories afterwards. So let's find out what's up in the July sky. Would help if I turn the switch on. I'm just celebrating. I forgot that in June, the end of June, June 30th, we're celebrating an anniversary of a tremendous explosion that was like a nuclear bomb, but it was nature who did it. And that was the great explosion of 1908 over Tunguska, Siberia in Russia. An object like this could threaten to destroy an entire city, and that's why NASA and others are approving a special devoted space telescope that will look for large objects like this one, which was up to 2,000 feet across, so that in the event we find it, we can prevent it from impacting anywhere important on the Earth. Tunguska, 1908, was June 30th, but July 24th, we have another anniversary of the first landing of human beings on another world. Yes, people did land on the moon, contrary to what you've heard from conspiracy theorists, and there are many reasons why you can show that it's true, which you can find at Full Plate's website, badastronomy.com. He gives you many reasons why the moon landing happened. I can tell you right away that with 1969 technology, it would have been impossible to simulate 1/6 gravity successfully. I don't care how much you try to hide those wires. I know, because I do animation. It's easy with a computer, but they didn't have them back in 1969. Anniversary, July 24th. But we're here to see about all events, all the neat stuff happening in July. So I recommend you go to go-astronomy.com. I'm going to be talking about several websites today. Go-astronomy has all sorts of things happening, but if you look under astronomy events and the big icon for the calendar, you'll see the entire year, which I've just chopped out for July. And we're focusing on July, which doesn't have a whole lot happening. All right, there's always 2 phases of the moon to look for, and this month, a meteor shower. So first, the moon. We've got early in the month, the full moon, late in the month, the new, and at the end of the month, the meteor shower. So one by one, let's figure out what these are, what these mean. Supermoon, when the moon is full, which is just in a couple days, it will be the absolute worst time to look for faint objects in the sky, no matter where you are. Even here at Jenny Jump, at UACNJ Observatory, one of the darkest in the state of New Jersey. It's still a lousy time to see faint objects when the moon is out. Because the moon is bright, the light washes over, it lights up the sky, it's not so great. It's even worse because we have a supermoon. And why is that? Well, the moon's orbit around the Earth is not a circle. It's not a perfect circle. It's a squashed circle, which we call an ellipse. But it's a very slight ellipse, very slight difference from a circle. Still enough to make a little bit of a difference. When the moon is at the close point to Earth, the perigee, not the apogee, apogee A for away, perigee P for pretty close. You can make it up. When the moon is at perigee, it's a little bigger. How much bigger? Well, if you see the sensational reports online, it's the biggest it'll be in years. You can see it in the telescope, it'll look like they get very excited, these people. But in reality, it's this much of a difference. Can you tell when you're looking at the actual moon? Anybody want to guess? Nope. No, it's too small to see a difference. You can see it in photographs, and these are real photographs. So supermoon. If you want to learn about the moon, the phases, get a calendar of phases, really cool. Print it, put it up on your wall. You can go to moongiant.com, Moon Giant. I don't know why they named it Moon Giant, but it's a weird name. It's easy to remember. Moon Giant tells you when the next full moon is. I did this a few days ago. So they have a countdown right to the second when it's coming. You can't miss it. They've got calendars like this. I selected the option for all the major phases of the moon, and each one is important. Why? Well, when the moon is full, you want to see a nebula or a star cluster. Is it a good time? No. There's only one bold gentleman in the audience who's interacting. Thank you very much, sir. The rest of you, you don't have to be shy. There's no penalty. There's a dog over there. We do not have the dog bite you if you don't answer. So feel free to chime in. Full moon, lousy time to see faint objects. Last quarter moon is a great time to see detail on the moon. The light is coming from the left from the sun. This is early in the morning as the sun rises. So if you want to see detail on the moon and you're an early riser, look for last quarter moon. You want to see it at a reasonable hour before you have to go to bed. You want the first quarter moon when the sun is setting. That'll be right in the south. So here, at Jenny Jump, the south is that way. Where is west where the sun sets? That way, correct. Right? So as the sun sets, the moon's going to be right there, half lit up. So why on earth are we calling it a quarter moon? Shouldn't be a half moon? Well, there's another side of the moon we never see because the moon rotates at the same rate that it goes around the Earth, so it always faces the same direction. Did you know all the major moons of the solar system do this too, to their parent body? All the big 4 moons of Jupiter, the 5 or so medium-sized moons of Saturn, all face one way because they rotate the same rate that they go around. The moon rotates 27 1/3 days, goes around the Earth 29 1/2 if you measure by the sun, 27 1/3 by the stars. So it's always facing Earth. We don't see the other side. Whoops. Sorry. We don't see the other side from Earth, but we see it from space probes that orbit the moon. So it's a quarter lit up. We just see a quarter. The other side's lit up too, a quarter. Right? So half of the moon is always lit at any time. A ball is always half lit up from a distant light source. And the best time to see faint objects, I hope you'll all go out toward the middle of the month, new moon on the 17th. The moon is close to the sun in the sky. Right? Why don't we have an eclipse? If the moon's going around once per, how long does it take to go around the Earth? 1 month, right? A month, moonth, right? So why don't we have an eclipse? The moon should be going in front of the sun every time, right? If the moon were going around the Earth lined up with the Earth's equator, yeah, that would happen, but the moon is tipped by 5 degrees, so it misses. Every once in a while, though, the whole orbit precesses around and we get an eclipse. Like next year, April 8th, don't miss. Total eclipse of the sun. Have you never seen one? Anybody never seen one? I haven't. You've all seen an eclipse of the sun? No. All right, so a lot of shy people don't even want to raise their hands. Am I going to have to rely on this guy for answers? All right, don't mean to embarrass you. So, April 8th, the moon's path over the United States will cross from Texas right through New York State, all the way up. And it'll last more than 3 minutes. Pretty cool. Don't miss it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The moon, full moon, has names. Did you know? Poetic names. This is the thunder. I wonder why they call it thunder moon. Or the buck moon, because the buck's antlers are growing. Some of these were named by Native Americans. Old Reference Beard called them back then Indians. They weren't from India. So the July moon has several names. Take your pick. Hot sun moon, buck moon, hay moon, elk moon, buffalo moon, thunder moon, summer moon. Every month there's a poetic name of the moon. So we've got the full supermoon, the new moon, and a meteor shower which seems to come from the constellation Aquarius. Aqua is water. Aquarius is the water carrier, sign of the zodiac. And it's right below. If you can't find Aquarius, it's easier to find a big square in the sky. It's huge, it's great. Astronomers are brilliant. They call it the Great Square.
Really? I thought it was the tiny hexagon.
Yeah, yeah. Those astronomers, man, they are brilliant coming up with these names. The Great Square of Pegasus, the flying horse. Right down below that is Aquarius. And coming near Delta, the star Delta, are the Delta Aquariids. We're going through the track of an old comet. Astronomers aren't sure which comet. They actually had two other candidates. Now they think it was Comet 96P Machholz. Maybe. It's hard to trace sometimes. But the Earth passes right through this trail of debris left behind by the comet every year, this time. Delta Aquariids. Next month I'll talk about the what's up in the, I can wait all day. August, thank you. August sky, where we have the Perseids. That's a major shower. This one is a little smaller, up to 20 an hour. Peaks on July 28th, even though it's spread out over time. We're going right through the track. The peak July 28th, you might see 15 or 20. Where I live, Bergen County, lots of street lights. I might see one or none. But go out, try. Do you need special equipment? What do you need? Three things. Three things. Lawn chair. Your eyes. Don't need binoculars. Don't need a telescope. Eyes are best because they're wide angle. And bug spray. Why do the meteors seem to streak out over the entire sky from Aquarius? If we're going through a parallel track, shouldn't they all be in a straight line? No, because if you've been on the Garden State Parkway on those annoying narrow lanes, I hate those narrow lanes. It's my pet peeve. It has nothing to do with astronomy. You may forget that I said it, but I hate those narrow lanes on the Garden State Parkway. Darn it. They seem to meet in the distance, don't they? Parallel tracks. They're not really meeting ever, but they're parallel tracks, just like the meteors. And that's what we're seeing of the Delta Aquariids. In the same constellation, we've got some news going on. Right there by the red circle is a red circle. We call it the, no, we don't call it the red circle. It's a solar system very much unlike ours. Here's our sun in real color, yellowish. It's called the yellow dwarf. Here's TRAPPIST-1. It's a red dwarf star, much smaller than the sun. It burns its hydrogen fuel much more slowly than the sun. So the sun's going to run out of fuel in 5 billion years. Relax. TRAPPIST-1 will go for trillions of years. That's thousands of billions, not 5 billion, thousands of billions. It's a small dwarf red star, and it's very small. If we put it in our own solar system, it would fit very neatly far away from the innermost planet Mercury. Blow it up 25 times, and this is what it looks like. These are artists' drawings. They're not real, but the sizes are correct. These planets are so close to one another, you could easily see a disk of one from another just with your naked eye. Amazing. 3 of them are in the habitable zone. Have you ever heard of this? Habitable zone for our solar system is Venus, Earth, and Mars. Mars just missed. It's too cold. Venus just missed. It's too hot. But just, boy, sounds like Goldilocks. Just right in the middle is Earth, where water is liquid. Venus, carbon dioxide holds the heat in the atmosphere. Mars is too small. It's lost most of its atmosphere. No magnetic field to help. Earth just right. In TRAPPIST-1, we've got E, F, and G. Boy, really creative names, astronomers. B, C, D, E, F, G, H. What happened to A? I don't know. I'll look that up. That's a good question. What happened to A? They just did a recent study, just a few days ago actually, of C, TRAPPIST-1C, and we now know that there are 2 possibilities from this simulated spectrum compared to the actual spectrum. They can break up the light as the planet passes in front of the star, we get hints about its atmosphere. Very cool. Spectroscopy. We know that it's either a thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide, like we find on Mars, no clouds, or it's just a rocky surface, no atmosphere. But it's not like Venus, which has a thick carbon dioxide atmosphere, sulfuric acid, 900 degrees. You go there, and it's almost as bad as a New Jersey summer. 900 degrees, you'd burn up. 90 atmospheres of pressure, you'd be crushed. Sulfuric acid atmosphere, you'd be dissolved, and you couldn't breathe. So it's not as bad as a New Jersey summer. That's Venus. This is TRAPPIST-1c. Very exciting that they can do these kinds of precise measurements. It's amazing. All that from spectra. And here's an artist's speculation as to what the planet might look like up close. I mentioned you could see some of the other planets in the sky. They're so close. If there's intelligent life on E, F, and G, then they could travel from one to the other within days or months at the most. And the star, small, red, but just enough heat to keep things alive. Is there life there? We don't know yet. Where would you find the life? Probably at the boundary between light and dark, because again, just like our moon, these planets always face the red star, always face as they go around it in days. So the side facing the sun, desert. The side opposite the sun, frozen tundra. The part around the terminator, the boundary between light and dark, that's where you'd find life. Great topic for a science fiction story. Did you hear about this? SpaceX may launch Starship 25 this month. Very exciting. What happened to the last one? Exactly. Again, sir, you're very bold. Thank you for your participation. I wish somebody else would speak up. He is right. It went kaboom. You heard about that? There was nobody on board. It was considered a success, right? SpaceX says it was a success because they were able to test the system to destruction. When 100 people go up on these things, it'll be a lot safer. They'll have tested all the possible ways it can be destroyed. Another test coming, and that's an actual photo. I thought this was computer art. It's an actual photo, incredible, of the Starship, number 25. So to review, we've got a full moon that ruins the sky early in the month. We got a new moon in the middle of the month, very nice if you want to see faint objects, and a meteor shower at the end of the month if you have a dark site like this, like here, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, parts of New Jersey, look for the meteors. Again, Moon Giant will tell you the phases of the moon. Nice summary. And if you want to play with the program I'm about to use, Stellarium is one, Celestia is another. This one lets you fly into space. I've been delaying talking about the sky and showing you the stars because it's so bright in July that you can't see the screen too well. So what I've done is a backup plan. We're going to see it still, and then I'll use a computer simulation and see if you can see the screen. So facing south, 9:30, a lot of us are still awake. I have a friend who gets up 5 in the morning, works in a nature preserve, so it's too late for him, but most of us can stay up till 9:30 and face south. You're going to want to see these constellations low in the southern sky. It's the only month of the year where they're this well placed because the constellations drift over time from east to west. Why? Right, we're on a moving planet. Not only is it moving around the sun, it's rotating, it's spinning on its axis, which points over the roof here at Jenny Jump. And so everything drifts from east to west. These constellations are so low in the sky in New Jersey, this is the best time of year to see them. Signs of the zodiac, a stinger on the end of its tail, claws in the front. Any guesses? Scorpio is the zodiac sign. Scorpius is the name astronomers have given this constellation. There's a bright red star. Color doesn't show up well in Stellarium, the program I used to make these pictures, but you can see with your naked eye, you can see a red supergiant star, cooler than the sun. Red stars are cooler, blue stars are hotter, warmer, right? So the sun is in between about 10,000 Kelvin, no, 10,000 Fahrenheit, I believe, 20,000 Fahrenheit for bluer stars, a few hundred degrees for red stars. Again, not as hot as a New Jersey summer. Scorpius, Sagittarius, the spout, lid, and handle of the teapot. We amateur astronomers, I'm an amateur astronomer. I do this for love, not money. I've never been paid to do talks, and I don't get paid to talk about astronomy or do astronomy. All of us here are volunteers. That's why we have a volunteer bin if you'd like to help us out. In fact, Kim is pointing it out right now. All of our work here, okay, all of our work here is done by volunteers. So go and ask a lot of questions of our volunteer astronomers when we're done here. The teapot, right above the teapot spout is the supermassive black hole that you've heard about at the center of our galaxy. See it? No? Why? Why can't you see it? It's black. Black hole, you can't see it. Light can't escape a black hole. Light, the lightest thing in the universe, still can't escape a black hole because it has mass energy. As light moves, even though the particles of light have no rest mass, they're moving. And so they have an energy. E equals mc squared, right? E equals mc squared. M equals E over c squared. They have an effective mass. They're sucked into that black hole. Nothing gets out. How do we know? Because we've seen it. Astronomers have watched stars and gas and dust falling into it. It's right above the spout. Now here at Jenny Jump, I was very excited years ago to look above the spout and see a little piece of the Milky Way, a little splotch, as we say in science, a splotch, a little cloud. Well, what I was looking at is it's an amazing thing to be able to see that with the naked eye. It's a star birthplace. It's a nebula, the word for cloud, nebula. It's a place where stars are being born. And I'll show it to you in just a few minutes in close-up. The Lagoon Nebula is visible here on a dark, clear night to the naked eye. You don't need binoculars. You don't need a telescope. It's amazing. I know a lot of you don't look amazed. Don't take my word for it. Do it for yourselves. Scorpion, Sagittarius, the archer, half man, half horse. The centaur. Looks just like a centaur, right? Where do they get these ideas? The Milky Way rises like steam from the teapot from the south right over into the north, over the entire sky. You can see it here on a dark night. Don't know about tonight with all the haze from the wildfires. We may not see much, but I urge you to stay late enough when the sky is darker. Maybe we'll see some of the brighter stars. You never know. If you look straight up, not low in the south, but higher in the sky, right overhead is the point directly above your feet, the zenith. Right near the zenith is the letter H for the famous hero Hercules. Very good, thank you. I see some more bold. Yes, that gentleman deserves a round of applause. Thank you. There's no need to be shy. Hercules is really cool because there's a faint object in it. You can see it with binoculars. It looks like a little fuzzy cloud, and it's one of those globular clusters that you saw at the beginning of my talk. It was the one that was on the lower right where the name got cut off. M13. M number 13. Messier, 150 years ago, was looking for comets. He found that. He said, this is in my way. I'm making a list of all the stuff that's getting in my way, like M number 13. And to this day, we remember Messier not for comets. We remember him for all the stuff that he threw away. So it's like my mother always said, never throw anything out. Might be useful. M13, the crown nearby, Corona. Bless you. Corona Borealis, the crown. And to the left of Hercules, Vega, the bright star Vega, one of the brightest in the sky. That will be our pole star in 10,000 AD. The Earth is wobbling. Did you know? Can you feel it? No. No, it's too slow. It wobbles once every 25,000 years. There's a clock in Switzerland that has this movement. Very big gears. There is M13, globular cluster, 500,000 stars. If you lived on a planet circling one of those stars, your night sky would look like streetlights. You would never know about nebulas or anything else. Too bright. On the lower left, by the Harp Lyra, where the bright star Vega is, there's a beautiful nebula in the shape of a ring, M number 57, Messier again. It looks like a ring, so they called it the Ring Nebula. Very good. Yeah, very famous. It's a very faint, small, hard to see. You need a telescope. We can show it to you here in the summer. So if you can't see it tonight, keep coming back. We're open every Saturday night. I do my talks every month, first Saturday of the month. And then we'll be talking more about this triangle of bright stars in the summer in 3 different constellations. So, of course, it's a mystery to me why they called it the summer triangle. And there you have it. Will you see the triangle in the sky? No. Will you see outlines for the eagle, the swan, and the harp? Nope. So it's going to be harder. Use your imaginations. And very close to the small constellation in the middle, the arrowhead, is a little group of stars that's not a constellation. Astronomers like me, amateur astronomers, have made up imaginary names for things that are not constellations. Small groups of stars like this, something you might find in your closet. And turn your head this way, it's upside down. Any ideas? Coat hanger, the coat hanger. We've got some news before we take a look at the sky in simulation. The Euclid Space Telescope, half the size of the Hubble, but with a special silicon carbide mirror. Very hard to figure, very hard to make it bend infrared light and visible light in 2 different pathways. They're doing this so they could test the W factor. The W factor. If the W factor is exactly -1, which Euclid should be able to see because it looks back further than any other telescope, back to about of the 14 billion years that the universe has been around, it will be able to look back 10 billion years with enough accuracy for the W factor to tell it how fast the universe is speeding up in its expansion, getting bigger and bigger. If it's not -1, then we need new physics to explain what's going on. So this will check 2 different measurements at the same time. Very exciting. It's going to be launched this month. The first commercial flight was successful. I believe it was June 28th. I saw this announcement June 30th. Virgin Galactic's first commercial flight. Only $450,000 per passenger. But the prices will be coming down. Within our lifetimes, some of us will be able to take an inexpensive trip into space. Very exciting times that we're alive. I'm going to give you some references. Our website, UACNIDGE. Repeat after me. UACNIDGE. Very good. That's United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. Has a lot of useful references. If you like to read, I know very few people read anymore. There's print, there's online, there's subscription, and there's free online. Sky and Telescope and Astronomy. And if you forget everything else I've said tonight, space.com. The easiest for me to remember, space.com. All kinds of news, search for life, what's up in the sky. And right now I'm going to use a free program called Stellarium. You can download it, to put on a computer. You can use their computers on their site, their website in real time. You can put it on a mobile device. It's free, free, and free. And let's take a look right now at the way the sky actually looks right now. There, see the stars? Wonderful. It's too bright. So in Stellarium, we're going to cheat and change the time from 8:35 to 9:35. Better? Stellarium is like a planisphere. We sell planispheres here in our gift shop. Cheap, useful for learning the sky. You can change the time and date anytime, any day, and see the stars. They're a little distorted because when you put the whole sky on a flat piece of paper like this, things can distort. But luckily, in a computer program, you can zoom in and see the Big Dipper the way it really looks, pretty big in the sky. Did you know there are not 7 stars in the Big Dipper? For those of you younger people in the audience, you can see 8. If you look in the handles, the handle of the Big Dipper, there are 2 stars close together. It's a visual double star, Mizar and Alcor. They're not related by gravity. It's just an accidental alignment like this. So if you looked from the side, they'd be far apart. In Stellarium, they tell you that if you click on an object, it says it's 78 light years away, and the little companion star is 81, so they're not really close together. However, there are real double stars in the sky, like Mizar, that revolve around each other, held together by gravity, just like the Earth and Moon. Big Dipper, well, we can make things a little bit easier by doing something that we scientists like to use the scientific term. It's called cheating. You'll see on a star chart lines. So the Big Dipper is not a constellation. It's like the coat hanger. What's it called? Anybody going to pass the test? It's an asterism. Aster, star, ism, thing, star picture, asterism. Big Dipper is part of the Great Bear, Ursa Major. Ursa Minor is the Little Bear, also Little Dipper. Dragon between them, Draco. That, Thuban, was our pole star several thousand years ago when the Egyptians built the pyramids. This is our pole star now. The Earth, as it spins, points north that way. And you can find north always. You don't need a compass if you can see stars at night. Find the Big Dipper, it's always up, except when it's cloudy or in the daytime. It's up in the daytime, just can't see it. Take the pointer stars 5 times their distance apart, you'll find the pole star. Or to measure angle, hold your fist out at arm's length, no matter how old you are, or how big or small you are. That's generally about 5 degrees. The distance between Merak and Dubi, the pointer stars. Merak, Dubi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is the pole star. There's north. There is Cassiopeia the queen. There is the king Cepheus. They look just like their names, right? All right, in Stellarium you can cheat. There are several different cultures, Greek mythology, other mythologies. So you can put pictures up if that helps. I'm not going to use the pictures, but I'll leave the lines up. Once you've learned these constellations in north, turn your attention to the stars setting in the west. You can still see the main sign of spring, who has a wonderful mane of hair. Belongs to the feline families. Zodiac sign. Leo is correct. Someone in the back got it. Yes. Thank you, sir. Leo the lion is right near 2 bright planets, Venus and Mars. Venus is so close to us, it's the brightest of all planets. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I can zoom in. Look how much I have to zoom in before I see a phase on Venus. Venus is so close to us that when it's a crescent, it's bright enough to cast shadows. It's right near the red planet Mars. They're both disappearing in the west, and soon those will be impossible to see. By the time the sky is dark tonight, they'll be in the trees, so probably can't try. Look away from Leo towards the south, and there are those constellations we saw before. Tonight, unfortunately, the moon is in the way, so it's going to be very hard to see any of the beautiful nebulas near Sagittarius and Scorpius, the Scorpion and the Archer. If I were to remove the effects of the atmosphere, can I do that? Yes, I can. I can cheat in Stellarium and turn off the atmosphere so that we can finally see the beautiful Milky Way. The black hole, can we see it? Nope. But we can see the Lagoon Nebula where stars are forming. An actual photograph. Nearby, there's a multicolored nebula. Not only the light of the hydrogen gas that will someday collapse to form stars and planets, just as what happened with our solar system, just as we're seeing, we can actually watch this happen now. But what is this blue color from? That's gas being lit up by stars. Must be what kind of stars? Blue stars, the hot stars. Mentioned that before. You can see hot and cooler stars by using the Big Dipper. If you face south and crane your head backwards quite a bit till you see the Big Dipper, like that, follow the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper, arc to Arcturus in Bootes the herdsman, also called Bootes, Bootes, Booties, your choice. Arcturus is the brightest star, Alpha, Boo. Astronomers, again, those crazy astronomers, they have 3-letter abbreviations for each constellation. Oh, how many constellations are there? Do we have any piano players in the audience? How many keys are on a keyboard? 88 is correct. Yep, there are 88 constellations. Follow the arc to Arcturus, thank you very much. Speed to Spica, and you'll see a blue star. Arcturus has an orange color, Spica a blue one. Spica is in Virgo, sign of the zodiac. So your eyes alone can see star temperatures. There's a lot you can start with in astronomy just with the naked eye. You don't need expensive equipment. You can get yourself a cheap star map. We sell them, by the way, shameless promotion. And that's how you can get, that's how I got started. If you look up very high in the sky, above the Scorpion and the Teapot, well, on the way there, by the way, you can see a guy holding a serpent. Serpent's caput, the head, serpent's cauda, the tail. Don't see him? Ophiuchus, the serpent carrier. The Earth, in the past few thousand years since astrology got started, has wobbled. Remember that motion I said? 25,000 years. Well, it's carried the constellations, the sun, moon, and planets, into another constellation. So there are actually 13 signs of the zodiac now. The planets pass through Ophiuchus. Go up higher, there's Hercules. Remember I told you to look on the right side of Hercules for a fuzzy cloud, fuzzy blob. Beautiful, even in binoculars. Small telescope, if you see a few stars, a few hundred, the bigger the telescope. 500,000 stars. A cluster of them in the shape of a globe is called a globular cluster. This is the most famous one, best one to see from New Jersey. There's a bigger one, Omega Centauri, in the Centaur, but the Centaur is a southerly constellation. You've got to be in Florida really to see that. Check out M13, ask the astronomers here to show it to you on a clear night. I apologize for Mother Nature, not necessarily clear tonight. Hercules and the crown. And then if you move over towards the left facing south, we're going further and further east. Why did I start in the west? For the planets and Leo the lion. That backwards question mark was Leo, because everything is moving, setting in the west. So once you're familiar with the stars of the north, You might want to start west, move your way south, and then to the stars rising in the east, which I'll talk about more in What's Up in August. The summer triangle, Vega in the lyre, the harp, Deneb, the tail of Cygnus, the swan, and Altair in the eagle. Summer triangle. Two of these stars have been in science fiction. Vega, the star in Contact, the movie and the book. Altair, the star in the movie Forbidden Planet. Check it out. That's where they went. There's a beautiful star that you're going to want to ask our amateur astronomers here to show you. The head of the swan is called Albireo, and it is a beautiful gravitational double star of two completely different colors, even more striking than we see here. When you see it in the telescope, you will see beautiful orange-yellow and a cyan, a blue-green, completely different color contrast. I think the most beautiful double star in the sky, Albireo. Check it out. Ask our amateur astronomers to show you stuff. They love it. What they don't love is when you kick their tripod after they spend hours setting it up so that the telescope can follow the motion of the Earth and counter it. So please, whatever you do, don't kick an astronomer's tripod. You're going to make the astronomer cry. Oh, what's this? That's a satellite. When the sky is dark, as it is here at Jenny Jump, you will see some artificial satellites, especially the Starlinks. There's a lot of them. Can't miss them. So, to review, quick review, start in the west. Well, start in the north. Get familiar with those constellations. They're always up. They never rise or set. They just spin round and round. The other ones rise and set. Leo is setting, main sign of spring, with the planets. Go over and find low in the sky before you can't. If you can get away from the trees and the houses, if you're by the shore, it's a lot easier. The scorpion, the teapot, the serpent carrier, up high for Hercules and the crown. Find the Big Dipper to help you find the herdsman, Boötes or Boertes, and the bright star Arcturus. Go over to the left for the summer triangle, and we'll be talking about the flying horse as it comes up late in What's Up in August. I am not going to talk about my book, which I've taken off the market temporarily. I have a book that lets you interact with planets in 3D, a lot of animations, but I've submitted it to a magazine to see if they want to publish it, either as a series or a book. So temporarily it's not accessible, but you can check out my free virtual reality models at my website that I'll put up in a moment. The only one that I've got for sale is Mars at Your Fingertips, but that has a free version too in HD. The full version is 4K resolution. You can zoom in, see detail, click hyperlinks to hear my wife talk about a famous feature on Mars, short, snappy videos made for people with short attention spans like me. And I'm not even Gen Z, which has a reputation as short attention span. All the videos are less than 2 minutes long. Check it out, Mars at Your Fingertips, the free version. The paying version is cheap. So, is it dark enough yet to see stuff? No. That's why I had still pictures. So I'm going to conclude by giving you my email. You can contact me here. You can find me at my website, astronomyinmotion.com, which has free virtual reality models you can play with in real time, especially using your fingertips on mobile devices. It's a lot of fun to zoom in, spin a planet in 3D. It's like holding a planet in your hands. You've been a very good audience. I want to urge you to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, uacnj.org, everywhere else, Patreon, YouTube, Discord, and I want to thank you for being such a good audience. Come back again. Thank you, Kim.
All right. Thank you, Lonnie. Thank you for everyone who's joined us so far. So, we will be having a question and answer session. For the people here, that means you're going to raise your hand and kind of wave it about. into like bring you the microphone to ask your question. Because chances are, if you have a question, someone else out there also has the question, but might not be brave enough to voice it. I have also been paying attention in our online chats to see what other questions they might have. So, before we get into that, because I know a couple of you snuck in during the presentation and missed the original safety briefing. If you need to use the bathroom, that is the porta potty to the back. After the presentation is done, I'll be inside at the little sales desk area in our museum and sales desk area. We don't have any telescopes open because unfortunately it is quite cloudy and hazy from, clouds and the smoke from Canada. Regardless, we are using our headlights when we leave. We like not being run over. I know you also agree. Any flashlights we may use, pointed towards the ground. With that, we're going to start off with our first online comment, which was, well, UIC&J is also kind of a weird name, so Moon Giant isn't that weird in the scheme of things.
Okay, I'll agree.
All right, but on a serious note, the actual question we had was, do we know why they rotate at about the same rate as they orbit, so there is usually only one planet-facing side?
Yeah, that's called synchronous rotation, and the question is, do we know why that happens? Over long periods of time, the gravity, let's take the Earth and Moon as an example. The Moon has masses embedded below the lava seas that we can see. We call them seas. They're actually frozen lava, and has more mass under that than on the other side of the Moon. So over long periods of time, the Earth's gravity has been pulling on those more than the other side, eventually slowing the Moon's rotation slower and slower and slower till it's captured. But that took billions of years. The solar system's been around for thousands of millions of years, and that's all due to gravity. Gravity alone and tidal forces that we can actually compute have slowed the rotation of all major bodies, so they face their major bodies. Moon faces Earth, Jupiter's Io, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto face Jupiter.
All right. Question from our audience here. Ooh, okay. So I'm going to get the closest person first, and then we're going to go. I need to walk all the way to the back.
Hi. You mentioned that the red dwarf burns hydrogen at a slower rate than the sun. Is that simply because of the size, the mass?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think everybody heard that. Yeah, because the rate of burning is conservative in red dwarf stars, it's still converting hydrogen to helium, and eventually that'll all be exhausted. But the rate is lower because of the mass being lower, the force of gravity is lower, everything just proceeds much more slowly.
Got it. And then
in supergiant stars, I mean, in the hot stars, they burn, compared to the sun's lifetime, it's like that. A few million years is nothing.
Okay. And I heard before that, like, if the sun runs out of hydrogen, then it moves to a different source, like helium or carbon.
Right.
Will the red dwarf also do the same thing, like go through that same... It runs out of hydrogen, it'll start burning carbon. Runs out of carbon, start burning iron.
Right. And once it gets to iron, that's completely stable and it can't burn anymore. So what happens is gravity takes over. There's a collapse. Atmospheric layers rebound in explosions.
Okay.
And that's how we get novas or supernova. Supernova is even more violent. But yeah, and all that proceeds so slowly in red dwarf stars, they're going to be around forever. So we never realized until recently that that's a prime area to look for habitable planets, red dwarfs. That brings the number up to billions of possible habitable worlds in our galaxy alone, and that's not even considering life inside the moons of giant planets like Europa and Ganymede and Saturn's Enceladus. There may be in our own solar system advanced life living inside, underneath the icy surfaces of ocean worlds. It's bizarre. The times we're living in are so exciting.
All right. So our next online question is, why don't we seem to get more meteor showers, and why don't the meteor showers that we do have seem to lessen over time as we pass through the path over and over again?
That's a good question, Kim. And I've just read an article about the problems with light pollution, especially the 400 plus thousand artificial satellites that are being planned to be sent up, interfering with astronomers' observations. Light pollution is a serious problem, and it's more about that than anything else, right? So meteor showers, there's plenty throughout the year, minor and major. Two big ones, the Geminids around Christmas, the Perseids in August. I'll be talking about that next month. But you can see others. You just need a dark sky. Where are you going to find a dark sky? Increasingly with developments, lights, that's harder and harder. Now we're in a state forest, which is protected. So they're not going to be putting up more lights in a state forest. And that's why UACNJ is one of the best places to see these things. So the problem is more about light pollution than anything else.
All right, we have another question here.
For the double star system that you showed us, do you know if their sizes are such that they can eclipse each other? So like if I try to look at it through a telescope, maybe I won't spot one because it's like smaller and behind the bigger one.
That's an excellent question. Alberio is in the head of the swan. Alberio is not an eclipsing binary because the direction in which they rotate does not line up with Earth. Not everything does. Everything's rotating in all different orientations. However, in Perseus, the hero of legend, Clash of the Titans, anybody see that movie? Perseus, right? You can read about him. He's been in the library 3,000 years. Perseus, the constellation better seen in fall, has the star Algol, A-L-G-O-L. That's an eclipsing binary. And you can actually see the light drop from the major star as the secondary passes it with the naked eye. It's evident, but not Alberio. But there are other eclipsing binaries. It's an excellent question. Thanks.
All right. This next online question is actually for me. Lonnie, have you ever thought of submitting any of your space art for the UACNJ calendar?
Oh, wow. I've never tried to submit art to the calendar. I did donate a painting that I made years ago to UACNJ, so you can see that if you visit the interior. But I will, thank you. I'll do that.
Remind me to send you a link after the
Thank you, Kim.
presentation. All right. Was there another question from our audience here? All right. So our next online question is, if you had the option to go up in Starship, would you?
Oh boy. my wife says, I'm not going with you. I'm staying on the Earth. Yeah, I did enter a contest a few years back. There was a contest. If you could guess where a balloon would drop a probe in the desert, you could get shot up into space, and your companion could stay in a resort hotel and watch you. But I didn't win. But yeah, I've always dreamed about going into space. I will be illustrating things like that. I'll be writing about it, but I probably won't be doing it in my lifetime.
All right. If as it gets darker, the people in the audience, if you have a question, you're going to have to keep your hand up and kind of wave it, because as it gets darker, I become more like a T-Rex and my vision's entirely based on movement. I am not a clever girl.
But she won't bite like a T-Rex, so don't worry.
No, that costs extra. Anyhow, the next question online was, would you be able to distinguish between stars if you lived in a globular cluster, or would the sky just be light?
Oh, that's a great question. In a globular cluster, you can picture it like a bunch of street lights, right? Nearby stars. The advantage of living in such a cluster is travel time. In a spaceship would be months, not years, if you could get close to the speed of light. But you would see stars, you could distinguish them, you could measure their spectra, but trying to find faint objects would be difficult.
All right. I see one out here.
Hey, so are these globular clusters, all the stars in them, are they burning at the same rate? Like, or is there like, what if one of them just kind of collapses on itself in the middle of that cluster?
Very good question. Globular clusters are ancient, going back to the birth of our galaxy about 10 billion years ago. They orbited all different directions around the center of the galaxy, but far out, far enough away, like 10, 20,000 light years. So astronomers have measured their spectra and see that they are generally older, redder stars. Older. So you would find finding planets there, especially habitable planets, probably more difficult. But these are older stars that glow redder in the spectrum. When you look at a galaxy, the center part of the galaxy is generally redder. Outskirts have bluer, younger stars along the spiral arms. And globular clusters are generally, to use the scientific term, old. Good question.
All right. So I'm going to ask our online audience if you have any questions. Do try and get those in because I do notice we are coming to the end of our online questions. But in the meantime, I have another question out here. Yeah, it's on.
Hi, my name is Louis from Jersey City. My question is, how are black holes created?
Hi, Louis. Good question. How are black holes created? When a star is big enough, 3 times the mass of the sun or bigger, it will eventually run out of fuel, and the pressure from the heat starts to evaporate. Gravity takes over, and it doesn't stop. The mass is contracted and compacted, and it keeps going and going to a near infinitesimal point, runs effectively out of our universe. It's so dense that not even light can escape, and so we lose all communication with it. So black hole can form when there's enough matter. In the center of our galaxy is a black hole with millions of times the mass of our sun. It's been collecting matter for eons, billions of years. And eventually, galaxies will merge with each other. We're on the way to merging with Andromeda. Those 2 giant black holes are going to merge, and eventually, with enough time, the whole universe will become black holes by gravity, the force of gravity. It's a great question.
All right. On that note, I'm actually going to skip to this question because it does also regard black holes. And this is from my mother. Do black holes travel in unison with the celestial components surrounding them? Or are they like just a fixed point in space-time now?
Oh, no. Black holes are subject to gravity just like stars and planets and everything else in the universe. It's just that their gravity is so intense that when they merge, they disturb space-time. The stuff that we exist in, Einstein merged the 2 factors, space and time, and treated them together mathematically, because space-time is like a flexible fabric. It can actually bend and twist and warp. So when black holes merge, they disturb space-time and create waves in it, just like the ripples in a pond when you throw a stone in. We can measure those ripples now with lasers. For the first time, just in the last few years, we have gravity telescopes, gravity wave equipment that can measure black holes. You're probably hearing some black holes right now exploding. Those are fireworks. Once we're done, go out and take a look. You can sometimes see fireworks from several towns at once. But those aren't black holes, those are fireworks.
All right. So we got another question out here.
Hi, my name is Louis Lamboy from Jersey City. And how come all the planets in the solar system rotate around the sun in the same direction?
Why do all the planets rotate around the sun in the same direction? Is everyone in Jersey City named Louis? No. But Louis and Louis, thank you both for your questions. When the solar system formed, and we can see other solar systems forming, Louis, they spin. They tend to rotate. They tend to spin. Even the slightest motion will start a spinning. It's a very common thing in our universe. Everything is spinning. And so things will tend to spin in one direction, just again by the force of gravity and conservation of angular momentum. Once something moves like a bicycle wheel, it wants to stay moving and wants to stay moving in the same orientation, which is generally flat. That's why most solar systems are flat, except for the comets which are in a big messy cloud called the Oort cloud. but generally the rest of the solar system is pretty flat. So we see them rotating and revolving generally counterclockwise as seen from the northern hemisphere. Why the northern hemisphere? Why did we pick that? Because modern civilization evolved mostly in the northern hemisphere. Totally arbitrary. Turns out, though, that Venus goes around backwards because it's rotating very slowly, slower than its year, bizarre, probably got hit by something big when it was young. And the planet Uranus got hit by something really big, and it got tipped over 98 degrees. So even though it's spinning counterclockwise, because it's pointing the other way in a different hemisphere, we say it rotates backwards. So the reason everything spins in one direction, everything tends to move and spin by gravity eventually. And that just, by sheer momentum, that builds up over time faster and faster.
All right. I'm going to actually answer a question that I heard about fireworks. So today is July 1st. There are a number of multiple townships who have actually their fireworks displays. And a lot of times they do stagger them. Like one will be on the Saturday, another in the local area will be on the Sunday. So like everyone can get, an equal opportunity chance to have those fireworks. So I just figured I'd answer that while we're here. All right. So our next online question is, if we get to a different planet and there's no existing life who has, constellation names or whatnot, is there an already existing or agreed upon way that they might name new constellations visible from that planet?
Oh, all right. That's a very good question. To see a difference, we would have to go to a planet around a different star, and not even close stars, far away, because the other stars are so far that it takes a big shift to see a difference. For instance, if we go to the nearest star, let's say there's a habitable planet around Alpha Centauri, and that's likely because it's just like our sun. Then when you look in the night sky towards Cassiopeia, the W, the Cassiopeia would have an extra star in it that would give it a zigzag. That star would be our sun. So the constellations would be slightly different. But it's got to be not in our own solar system. There's not enough of a shift. It's got to be a great distance away.
But do we, if we happen to get there, have they been like, okay, well, you get to name X amount, you get to name X amount, or...
I suppose they could settle on a system for renaming the constellations, but they're going to have to compete with the existing inhabitants if there are any, right?
Right. Was there another question from our audience here? I hear crickets now.
I think
That's
we
about it.
bamboozled everyone.
Right. So once again, I want to thank you all for coming out. We do actually, one of our members had opened up one of our observatory sheds. That's one of the buildings with the roll-off roof, so that you can at least look inside and see what kind of telescope and setup we would have. Unfortunately, it does look like the sky's not clearing. And with that, thank you, Lonnie, for a great presentation. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, have a great night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kim.